That's a big piss. I wonder if I should even record this. I'm literally just grinding. I'll keep it short at least. Oh, 30 minutes is still a long time though. I will be using this team. I don't actually know which way, what would be the fastest way. Let's try beating up the people here. I'm pretty sure the only way I can get more of the final boss materials is by starting a new game. Plus, makes sense, but kinda sucks. Not too shabby. At some point, it is just a frick ton of XP to level up now, even with the bonus multiplier from normal. So, thank fuck they added that as an option, I suppose. How do I get your special drop? The hell? Fuck off. Don't worry about it. Nice. That was quick. It's good, but you know, it can be at a much faster and more comfortable pace. Oh, these guys might be good. They don't have instant death, at least. The sleeping can be dealt with easily enough. And well, I did say it was genuinely easy. Headline, perfect.
So it's real easy to compare and contrast the two and see how this one falls flat. This layout is just so bland and honestly feels fan-made. But some things just don't make sense, like these rails giving you a boost. Like, what sense does that make? SNES Mario Circuit 3? Same movie reincarnated. This is in a weird middle ground between fully remade and fully faithful to the 16-bit original, just like it was in Mario Kart Wii and Mario Kart Tour and Mario Kart Super Circuit. Why is this the one that always comes back? I definitely prefer to a track like GTA Mario Circuit looks, as it maintains the retro aesthetic while not coming off as cheap as hell like this one does. If you wanted the full-blown retro style, and wouldn't it have been cool if the entire track was 16-bit? That would have been rad! Like Donkey Kong Jr. in Mario Kart Tour, but instead, it would be the course that was pixelated rather than the character. The tracks from Tour, New York Minute, and Sydney Sprint, they're fine. Definitely more memorable than some of the others, especially Sydney Sprint with its music. But they keep the Mario Kart Tour tradition alive with these tracks. What tracks? Just really forgettable. Fine in the moment, but there's never any reason to play these outside of maybe the music being good or the cool atmosphere, because more often than not, the track layouts themselves are just pretty bland. Even when many of them are still the same gimmick as Paris Promenade, with changes occurring each lap. Waluigi Pinball and Mushroom Gorge are great to have back, but they really ain't all too different. Unlike Calamari Desert, which does similar stuff to the Tour tracks, each lap has a new layout, and it really helps add some spunk to a track that's classic, yes, but definitely needed more to stand out in the modern day. And they did just that. And Snowland is just pleasant as hell, man. Growing up with Super Circuit, this was a joy to have remade. Music alone. But the course itself is pretty solid and looks decent too. There's obviously more effort put into this wave. You can tell the developers were listening to feedback. They even went back to Coconut Mall to address the complaint of the static cars at the end. After the Wave 2 update, they moved now. Things were looking up for the Booster Course Pass. Much like how they were looking up for Splatoon 3 as we got the Splatoon 3 Direct this month. However, gotta be honest, I just didn't care. I like Splatoon, and Splatoon 3 was looking good. I like Splatoon, and Splatoon 3 was looking good. And this Direct showcased some cool new things about it. It just wasn't something I was actively interested or excited about. I was just down to pick up the game when it released next month, try it out, and that was that. Which is at least more than I can say about the Pokemon Presents a week earlier. These presentations have evolved to the point where they're all practically the same thing. Oh yes! More news on Pokemon Cafe Remix and Unite and my diagnosis? You're fucking miserable. Something awakened inside me this month. A general disinterest in Splatoon. Splatoon 3! I've always enjoyed the Splatoon franchise, but my interest in it definitely peaked with the first entry. That was such a unique game at the time in every way. The gameplay, the aesthetics, it gave the Wii U a completely original new title that was unlike anything else out there. I played this one a fair bit, and while it had some issues, such as the lack of content at launch, not only was it great to see a brand new AAA Nintendo IP, but for it to be this addictive, charming, and overall great, made this one of that console's defining moments. Now do it again. Splatoon 2 launched just 2 years later, which made sense considering this was for Nintendo Switch in its launch year. How popular the first game was, you would want to keep that momentum going with your brand new console. And obviously, that was the right call to make. That game went on to sell a metric numbers worth of copies, but for me personally, I wasn't necessarily hankering for Splatoon Splatoon at the time. It was so soon after the first game, on top of 2 launching with minimal content again, and the content that was there, like the single-player campaign, it just felt like more of the same from Splatoon 1. I just didn't care! Of course, you had cool new additions like Salmon Run mode, there were more multiplayer stages, and it looked a lot better, even if at the time it was hard to tell. Nowadays, it's so easy to see how much they improved on in Splatoon 2. And that goes for the game in general. I don't want to downplay how good of a game this is. I'm just explaining why it didn't really grab me by the time I was willing to give it another try. Fast forward to Splatoon 3's reveal in February of 2021, and all I could think of was how unnecessary it felt. Once again, I wasn't hankering for Splatoon because I barely even played more than a few hours of Splatoon 2, and with all the new content they added, I could very easily just pop that into the same console Splatoon 3 was releasing on and get my fix right then and there. As a casual enjoyer of the series, this game wasn't showing me any reason to want it outside of being a new release, so more people would be playing it. Over the year and a half build-up to launch, which is quite long by modern Nintendo standards, no trailer or announcement ever interested me about this one. It just felt like the same song and dance from the first 2 games. Oh, the single-player trailer features multiplayer footage, then it's interrupted by a transmission. The Salmon Run, it's pretty much the same thing from the last game, which this all inspired a ton of discourse I saw. Critics would say, Splatoon 3 looks the same, it needs to be more different. Defenders would respond, it's a sequel, what are you expecting? It's not going to be a completely new experience. And while I understand both sentiments, even if I am definitely more on the critic side, I feel like there was a fair amount of miscommunication going on. Like, neither side actually knew what the other was trying to say. I think I was looking for that major hook, that new gimmick to set Splatoon 3 apart from the others. While core fans understood that this is an online multiplayer game, Splatoon 2 is pretty old at this point, so you need a new, refined release to bring in a larger player base. Plus, those fans already noticed both the gameplay and visual differences, more than enough to warrant making a new game. Neither side is wrong here, but considering my history with the franchise up to this point, and Splatoon 3 launching on the same system as Splatoon 2, and to the untrained eye not doing all too much to differentiate itself,
Preferably, I would just be doing auto.
not excited for this game. Though I still picked it up, played it at launch, and Splatoon 3 is good, but man, I just don't have much passion for this one. It's like, I don't know what to say. It's Splatoon. So I'm thankful this one didn't launch half-baked like the others and felt much more like a proper sequel compared to Splatoon 2 when that released, which felt far more like Splatoon 1.5. The single player here is pretty substantial. I love how it starts out like any other Splatoon single player, then expands into this massive world, which is exactly what I wanted out of a Splatoon story mode. Until you actually enter the levels.
I need Hopla and Aegis 5 for
this feels
this.
way more challenge mode than actual campaign. It's still good, don't
It
get me
becomes
wrong.
party at
Very
level
similar to
10.
Splatoon 2's Octo
So
expansion
that's
DLC.
5.
But looking at this
It's
giant
20 either
hub
way. I
world,
think
it
I'm
feels
better off
distant
just
for so
maxing
much
out
more.
both Aegis
Without
and
much,
Hopalon.
Splatoon pushes its lore, its universe. It wants you to feel like this is all a living, breathing world, going as far as making the user experience worse because of it. All for the single player to be the most video game levelly things imaginable. And they're good video game levelly levels, but it just confuses the hell out of me. This hub world shows how cool a more open sandbox style Splatoon campaign could be. Imagine something like Bowser's Fury or Mario Odyssey, but with Splatoon mechanics. That would be incredible! But instead, we have a single player that's fun and well designed, yet I always felt teased by. This opening cutscene, Splat's build, the single player hub, they all gave me hope we'd have a far larger world than usual. But in the end, this is just sort of more of the same, presented as if it's not. But obviously, the multiplayer is the main draw with this title, and it's Splatoon multiplayer. It's fun. I don't know. There's a plethora of content here. Not to easily recommend Splatoon 3 to anybody interested. But my god, I just have nothing to say about this game other than it's more Splatoon. Splatoon is fun. I'm sad. I definitely played this more than I did with Splatoon 2, so take that for what it's worth. I do understand why this game exists now, as yes, for an online multiplayer-oriented series like this, you do need to freshen things up via new releases. There's only so many updates you can do to Splatoon 2 until you just need to straight up make a new game. And they do enough here, but not enough for me to be head over heels in love with it. Splatoon 3 is a good game, but one I just don't have any strong feelings about. God, I could use a game that made me feel something. Anything! I feel sorry. So Square Enix put 2 RPGs out this month. Both nonsense titles, both similar logos to not only each other, but Triangle Strategy and Octopath Traveler and Bravely Default. Both pretty damn mediocre, both getting little to no fanfare upon release. What the hell was going on here? Oh, Square Enix put 2 nonsense-titled mediocre RPGs with similar logos out in the same month. That's what happened. You know what else got little to no fanfare? Shovel Knight Dig. I feel that the constant support the original game got throughout its life, while groundbreaking and wildly generous of the developers, alongside constant cameos of the character in other titles, make getting anything new from Shovel Knight feel pretty insubstantial. Which is a shame, because Shovel Knight Dig is damn good. This is such a cool spin-off that honestly could be looked at as a full-blown follow-up in many ways. It takes the mechanics from Shovel Knight and puts it all into this roguelike platformer focused on digging downwards. It's a really smart and effective use of the franchise that feels familiar, yet is pretty much completely different from the first game. The music and visuals are phenomenal, the gameplay is addictive with arcade-like qualities, and this is some of the best procedurally generated level design I've ever seen. They all feel so handcrafted, it's insane! Great title here, definitely a huge recommendation from me. But what if you're more of a FIFA 23 Legacy Edition guy? Play Shovel Knight Dig. Yep, another year, another barred out FIFA for Nintendo Switch. We also got the standard NBA 2K and 8K Cross S title and a Reason to Live. Temtem launched this month, and after hearing about this game for years, being considered the Pokemon killer, an MMO that looked to be everything everybody has ever wanted that franchise to become, and then some, during a period in which Pokemon has been churning out non-stop disappointments. Well, this didn't do a damn thing. Let's be honest, it's gonna take a lot for any franchise, new or old, to actually be much of a legitimate rival to Pokemon. And especially when I think a big appeal is the fact that it's Pokemon. Replace all of these with IOUs, I don't think the franchise would last much longer. Return to Monkey Island! Revival of the legendary point-and-click series that turned out pretty damn legendary itself. This is fantastic! Really unfortunate how upset some people were at the graphical style, but that's understandable. It's human nature to threaten violence over how my funny pirate game looks. It's fine if you don't like how this looks, especially considering how the series did evolve to fully 3D. I can understand this feeling like a downgrade, but pretty much every game had its own unique art style, with many being in 2D and exaggerated and cartoonish. Is this really out of the ordinary here? I personally think it's a nice
How did I get the rare drop but not the actual normal drop?
Which in itself is a treat. Just a fantastic point and click with so much love and energy. And Tunic is the same, but for top-down adventure games, which also released on Switch this month. And the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Anniversary
Actually isn't resistant to any status ailments. What the hell?
Yeah, this was a surprise release, and it's 70 bones no less. Basically, it's Skyrim at 60 with a $20 DLC pack included at a discount, which is a crime in comparison to the other platforms where it's only $49.99 for the whole package, which includes Skyrim's Special Edition instead of basic-ass Skyrim on
Let's go to
Switch.
the final
Wow,
dungeon
what a
and
waste
see
of money. Let me
if
find
it'll
to
be-
confirm. Wow, what a waste of money. The Life is Strange Arcadia Bay collection. Wait, hasn't this already released? Remember E3 2021? They announced the
Super
whole
Paper
Life is
Mario
Strange
Maker?
series was coming there. What the hell happened? Thank you for your answer. Game releases may have been plentiful this month, but with it being September, you know it was all about the Nintendo Direct debuting on the 13th. You know, over the past few years, I've come to realize the September Directs are usually not as big of deals. What makes me say that? I mean, it makes sense. They're leading into the holiday season, where we know of most games releasing already, so I've come to lower my expectations for the presentations around this time of year. Well, at least when it comes to my interests. But hot damn, we finally have a Direct for me! Storied Seasons, Fade Farm, Brood Factory, Harvestella. The son of a bitch, I wanted 5.
Alright then,
This
then
direct was
I can't
often
auto
fine due
these
to
guys
the overwhelming
either.
amount of farming games on display, which wasn't as annoying to me as the people who are still making fun of it. You give Nintendo fans a joke to make, and they won't make one. The farming game focus didn't even register to me at first, mainly because I think I was already zoning out during these segments. Definitely wasn't the strongest direct, but don't take that as it was bad. I mean, we opened up with the reveal of the next mainline Fire Emblem game, Fire Emblem Engage, releasing in just a few months. I'm so excited.
Actually, technically,
Using the Switch
if I bring
it
Ian
takes even
down
Sifu gets
the
Switch
other
ports
people,
that look pretty rough.
I might be
Nintendo
able
Switch
to.
Sports Golf is delayed. Oh man, hopefully these announcements get better. Well, how about Fatal Frame Mask of the Lunar Eclipse? A remaster of a Japanese Wii exclusive, finally available worldwide. That's pretty rad. Or how about Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line? Oh, Tales of Symphonia Remastered, Radiant Silvergun, which released that day. Wave 3 of the Booster Course Pass was teased. The Master Detective Archives Rain Code. There were a lot of cool announcements here, between another look at Disney Speedstorm, why this has been a part of 2 directs, with a few big boy reveals like Octopath Traveler 2. And I think this is where I started to feel the HD 2D style was overstaying its welcome a bit. I just personally feel that for original games like Octopath, Triangle Strategy, and now Octopath 2, there's not enough that's really visually distinct between these 3. Plus, within 1 year, we were to get 3 games that use this art style. It's just starting to feel like they're going overboard here. You can keep using HD 2D, but mix it up a bit. You can definitely push this style more and experiment with what's possible with it, because as it stands, I can't wait for Octopath Traveler 2, goddammit, this is Triangle Strategy. More Nintendo 64 games were announced for the expansion pack, with basically the entirety of next year's lineup detailed. The first 3 Mario Parties were an awesome surprise, considering how Nintendo's only ever re-released Mario Party 2. But that announcement was completely overshadowed by GoldenEye. Yep, they finally worked it out. Stuck in complete licensing hell for decades, all the parties who owned a piece of this pie came together and agreed upon a deal. I don't know if it's a good deal, but that doesn't stop me elsewhere. Microsoft, who owns the original developer of the game, Rare, would also be getting the game on Xbox with full widescreen and 4K, utilizing a more modern control scheme, while the Nintendo Switch Online version would just be the basic game, but because it's a part of Nintendo Switch Online, you'd get online multiplayer. So they made sure both versions kinda suck. Well, good thing I have both consoles. I can play both mediocre GoldenEyes and experience the best of both, the worst of both, and the act of wasting time. Resident Evil Village, 7, 2 Remake, and 3 Remake cloud versions. Yep. Pikmin Bloom, a mobile app that released a year prior. Pikmin 4. Oh my god! Okay, so there wasn't a ton they showed here outside of a small clip, some screenshots, the new logo, and the release year of 2023. But man, how neat! It's about time we got anything from this game that was apparently damn near done 10 years ago. Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe was then announced just directly after he says a real game. It's just like, okay. Yeah, after Kirby and the Forgotten Land and Kirby's Dream of Fate, we're getting a full remake of Return to Dreamland on Wii. Was not on my bingo card, mostly considering I thought we were just playing bingo. This was one of those announcements that just kind of left me perplexed. Like, this game didn't need a remake. We didn't need another Kirby, and another 2D Kirby at that. But I wasn't upset or anything. I thought, sure, why not? I'll play that again. At this point, it feels like many of the remakes Nintendo goes forth with are chosen by Darkthrone, and we got lucky here. And the final announcement was a teaser for Breath of the Wild 2, now officially titled Tears of the Kingdom. What the hell does that spoil? We end with the reveal of May 12th, 2023. Other than that, this trailer barely showed off anything. Honestly, pretty weak end to an average direct, all things considered. Nothing groundbreaking, but some good stuff here, though. That wasn't all the news in September. We got the announcement for a Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Nintendo Switch OLED, more Sega Genesis games on Nintendo Switch Online, Rayman will appear in DLC for Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Wait, let me rephrase that. Rayman will appear in DLC for a game I don't give a damn about? Oh, that's pretty cool. I don't like saying that because Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope is one of the most passion-fueled experiences I have ever witnessed. Just look at this game! They really went above and beyond to take Mario plus Rabbids to the next level. But I'm not gonna lie to you and act like I really wanted that. I gave the original a few hours of my time recently and yeah, it's pretty good. But didn't feel like it should have been more than just a cool thing that happened once. I think if this game proved anything, it wasn't that Mario plus Rabbids should be its own series. Rather, this team at Ubisoft is unbelievably talented and should be trusted with more projects, hell, more Nintendo projects even. Because while doing another Mario plus Rabbids is fine, it doesn't have the same allure as the first game. That game sounded dreadful when it was just a rumor. But slowly as more and more details began leaking, culminating with a whole damn internal presentation describing the entire thing getting out there, it became easier and easier to accept the idea of this crossover. By the time it was officially unveiled, it was exciting! The game looked legitimately well made and was out in just 3 months, all on the Switch's launch year. Hell, it was the first brand new Mario game on the console. It was such a crazy idea that apparently turned out to be a solid title when Switch releases were more sparse, so when this came out, more people than you'd expect gave it a go. Everything fell perfectly into place with the original Mario plus Rabbids, which can't be said for Sparks of Hope. Took a year and a half to release during one of the busiest months on the platform, and it just didn't invoke the same morbid curiosity the first one did. Plus, it wasn't really filling a niche. There's a reason my family lives by the code the Nintendo Switch has a lot of turn-based tactics games. So while I never thought this game looked anything less than fantastic and never wanted it to fail, it just was never at the top of my priority list. And nobody else's! Yeah, this game underperformed according to Ubisoft, and I think everything I just listed is entirely to blame here. Which doesn't include the quality, because oh my god! They could have just done the first game again with new environments and a few improvements, but they genuinely went back to the drawing board to rethink how this game works. It's still Mario plus Rabbids, but evolved significantly. You can now move around without being restricted to a grid. Exploration is far deeper and more involved. The world's expanded, the stakes are higher. But while these are all improvements, they sort of turn this game into something I don't think it needed to be. This feels less like a Mario and Rabbids game, and more so Mario and Rabbids going on an intergalactic journey to other worlds. Oftentimes, Sparks of Hope is closer to an original game than either Mario or Rabbids. And while I respect this, I'm not sure if going bigger and more original is what I wanted after Kingdom Battle. Plus, the series just feels like official fan fiction that's still non-canon. At the end of the day, despite everything this game does well, I just didn't really care. But if you're looking for a solid tactics game, you can't go wrong with this. Or hell, even the first one. They're great games, but damn it, they just aren't a priority to play for me. There were so many other games that released this month, such as Bayonetta 3. This was a big deal. I mean, Bayonetta 2 was a Game of the Year nominee back in 2014, so it's pretty monumental to get a follow-up here in the year 2019. What coma? Nearly made it 10 years since the last one and 5 years since the announcement. But alas, Bayonetta 3 finally released. And it was pretty damn solid, even though I think the wait for it was a bit ridiculous. Apparently the game ran into some development issues, would you believe? There was talk about it being open world at one point, the Switch hardware holding them back, thus having to restructure the game. And after playing it, yeah, you can sort of tell this game was meant to be on a far larger scale. That's not to say what's here isn't great in of itself and doesn't come together, because Bayonetta 3 is a complete package that oftentimes is better than 1 and 2. But oftentimes it's far worse. This is definitely the most divisive of the series. Doesn't mean it's anything less than great, but I've seen many a critique on the story of this one, which is something I deeply care about in my Bayonetta games. Oh, wait, I thought this word was pronounced story. My bad. Not saying I'm right here, it's just, to me, Bayonetta's plot is simply there to get us from action set piece to action set piece. I find it to be fun and ridiculous, but if it's bad, I don't really care. However, this game focusing on multiverses, one aspect of the story that I'm actually not a fan of is that it doesn't do as much with this as it could have. A Bayonetta game traveling across dimensions? I mean, look at what Bayonetta 2 did. Now you have this MacGuffin to do literally whatever you want. And what, sand? These areas are still fun, and the hack and slash gameplay is better than ever. But the Bayonetta series is very consistent, so while 3 does a ton of new things,
I guess this is a
I'd say
solid
the best way
pace.
to describe it is more Bayonetta. I don't think this was as groundbreaking as 2 was when it released. In fact, I feel that 2 is probably the best overall. Now, while 3's highs are higher, 2 is more consistent all the way through. But damn, Bayonetta 3 is one of the greatest hack and slashes of the generation, if not of all time. Regardless of any criticism, I think it's fair to say this is a worthy entry in the series. So, who the hell cares which one is better? Just play
Suicide
all.
hair.
You know, with Bayonetta being
well, it's a good
animated,
thing it
gets
died
me in the
quickly.
mood to hear the word more. Let's continue the trend with what could have been. Yep, Persona 5 Royal launched this month in terrific shape. This port is phenomenal. It's fully featured and runs great. Any differences or downgrades are negligible or expected, but don't impact the experience. This is Persona 5 Royal on Nintendo Switch. Something I wish I could have said years ago. Too little, too late, man. I mean, just imagine if this released in 2019, 2020. That would have hit the spot. But by October of 2022, I mean, it's just harder to be as enthusiastic about these Switch ports, man. Oh my god!
Yeah, that's
to
a
be
common
fair,
theme for Atlas.
Persona 5 was
They
originally
do
on
everything
PlayStation 3,
too
so
late.
It's not like it wouldn't run on Switch. We've been teased by constant Persona spin-offs, Jokers
And
and
when
Smash
it finally
Brothers,
happens,
just
they
costumes
present
and
it as
Mirage
this
sessions.
big
They put
thing.
the damn cat in Monkey Ball. Like, come on, he's not even a ball!
That was
There's always been a
worth
justified
the wait or
expectation
whatever,
for this
when
game on the
in
platform,
reality it
whereas
really
Nier
should have just
Automata,
released
I
sooner.
mean, yeah, this has consistently been one of the most
And running.
requested ports to this console, but that didn't make it any less shocking upon confirmation. And much like Persona 5, this looks and runs amazingly for Switch. Of course, if you nitpick them, you can find downgrades, but while you're playing, everything just feels right. These are the real deal. 2 uncompromised dream ports in the same month. Hell, make that 3! Okay, well, that's a dream port. Gosh, I wish I cared. No Man's Sky for Nintendo Switch. Who asked for this? Oh my god, guys! It's Weird Motherfucker! Oh, hi! I love this game. Definitely wasn't a port I ever
I'm not
expected.
confident.
2022, no less. Both in terms of player demand and the possibility of it running on Switch.
Not
But
on
after
there.
a rocky launch in 2016, No Man's Sky has definitely improved over time and has become a pretty commendable experience, well enjoyed by many players. So while I've been questioning its existence on Switch, and that was more so my initial thought when this version was announced, because obviously this is a tremendous addition to the console's lineup, as it runs surprisingly well considering the monumental scope of this game, which, yeah, October has been filled with ports like this. Variety is the spice of life. Alan Wake Remastered. This just randomly popped up, no warning whatsoever, like an armed felon. Ew. Yeah, that's why I say towards armed felons. This is one of the most pathetic Switch ports I've ever seen. Mainly because it didn't need to be. Alan Wake is an Xbox 360 game. How the Switch version is as crusty as it is beyond me. Obviously, they took the remastered edition for the higher-end systems, then downgraded that for this release, which they sure did that. This did get patched a few months later, ironing out many of the major issues, and though still leaving the game in a visually unappealing state. I feel like you should expect visual downgrades for Switch versions of modern titles. Obviously, it's a trade-off for portability. But for a game like this, which was on the Xbox 360, I mean, none of the major ports this month had these kind of issues, and those were PS4 games. What excuse does this have? Okay. Overwatch 2 hit Switch this month, but considering how this effectively replaced Overwatch 1, I consider this more of a free update than a new game. A new Tales from the Borderlands, yeah, that just sort of happened now, didn't it? I heard nobody talk about this, much like Atari Mania, which is far you aware but themed around classic Atari games. A pretty fun idea, though instead of playing any of these, it's only fair when game publishers waste their time, I waste mine too. Let's bitch! Cloud versions of both Resident Evil Village and A Plague Tale Requiem.